What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Turn the Jets podcast. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPaul11 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Wednesday, second to last day of OTAs and mini camp, and I'm going to get into the true actual off season, the 5 or 6 weeks between mini camp and training camp starting up July 22nd for the Jets. Figured, we've talked a lot about what's been on the field, presently. Figured, Quinton Coples, former first round draft pick of the Jets. In 2012, he's launching his podcast and figured hop on here, talk a little Jets, and talk a little bit about what he's been going on. Quinn, how you doing, man?
Well, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you hopping on, and again, it's that interesting time of year where it's kind of been, it's the season, and then it's as much as the off season, it's like nonstop, especially in today's NFL. Mini camps, OTAs, phase 1, phase 2, all these different stuff.
Right.
What was this time of year like for you? Kind of looking back when you were playing, did you feel like you could catch your breath, or not until kind of mini camp, OTAs, and things like that were over?
Yeah. So traditionally, this is just kind of like training grounds. You're just trying to make sure that you report to camp in shape. You kind of tune up that last minute of, that cutting edge before you start actually diving into nothing but football for the next 4 or 5 months. So, for me, it was just, maintaining, trying to get as much family time and, leisure time as I could, not necessarily like going out there, but just like hanging out, because once you get into the season and once you get into camp, it's all football from there, move forward. So just kind of get a peace of mind at this point and just trying to make sure you stay in shape.
Yeah, no, 100%. I want to kind of touch on, obviously your career and then we can kind of get into a little present day. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about what you have going on, because actually I think it's really interesting, and it's a space in the former athlete space that's not really touched on as much. So, obviously coming out of North Carolina, like I'm sure you've probably been asked this a million times, but like, would you think you were going to be a Jet? Like, how did that kind of unfold? How did that, that everyone has their different stories of like, I had no fucking idea I was going here, or some guys are like, I knew I was going here. How did that kind of unfold for you?
So I was kind of like, not necessarily a late bloomer, but like more so like under the radar, but on the radar. So like being projected. So Bourne had a good sophomore year. Then that junior year, I kind of jumped out off the screen and people started recognizing me. And so I started being projected at these different rankings and whatnot. So I had no idea where I was going initially. I was just thinking that maybe based off what it's looking like and what people are saying, I'm on ESPN, like, okay, I could probably make the first round or whatever. So I went through that. Then we started going through the combine, and then going through visits, clubhouse visits and things of that nature. So I had no idea. Long story short, we get about a week and a half or 2 weeks out before the draft, and I had a meeting with Carolina Panthers. And so I speak with them, and they kind of basically was like trimming up their edges in regards to the guys that they was thinking about taking in the first round. So they wanted to know as much as they could about them. So they wanted to meet the family. So we met at my former manager's house, met with my fam, and everybody was there, and we had a good time, had a good conversation. And it was like, hey, your name is kind of all over the place in regards to the first round board. So, be there, then we're going to take you. If not, then, we obviously we're going to have to go somewhere else because you're not going to be on the board. So I go into the draft thinking I'm 8. I don't, this is what they said. This is before I don't understand business. I've been an athlete at that point in time. I was just an athlete, kid, naive, kind of don't even understand like what's really going on, being the fact that like there's this level of interest with me with this entity that we call the NFL. So I'm like, all right, cool. Going into the draft, thinking everything is good. And I'm like, hey, if this happens, like this is like next level, because, I'm a Carolina boy. So to be home and play for the home team, it's just a different adrenaline rush. It's a different passion that comes with it. So overall, I was like, all right, cool. So go into the draft, do all the draft processes, the parties, the viewings, the showings, the media, the press, meet with different companies, different brands, and, everybody, at that point in time, it was a lot of guys who did like custom suits. And so it was a lot of brands that was really like adamant. They was pushing that. So financial advisors, you got the whole shebang. Like the list goes on and on. So I get to the job. My family's having a great time. Country boy, so first time being in the big city. just enjoying it. They don't really got to worry about too much financial stress. They're able to do something. They don't really know what to do because we from the country, a small town. So being in New York was just like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, we had been before one time with my sister, but we ain't never had like the experience of like not necessarily
the red
worrying
carpet.
about that red carpet, not really having to worry about, oh, do I need to pay for this or that? It's like, no, that's taken care of, like things of that nature. So it was a different experience. But going through that, we get to the draft, and then we sit backstage. You got all the talents backstage, the green room, and you start hearing the phones ring, but then you start seeing like where people were projected, and at that point in time, really, Andrew Luck and RG3 was the only people that really was guaranteed. That was 1 and 2. All of us was like just like we don't know where it's gonna go, so we just backstage, and it's a thing where you don't want to be day 2. Like, like that's just like total embarrassment. It's the one of the worst things ever. But it's not a bad position in regards to placement, but it's horrible in regards to if you projected to go first round and you go second round. So
different money, it's different.
Different money. Yeah. And the media East of the Live, they make it a whole thing about, I mean, just look at Gino. He was like one of the most notable ones that came after me, and I'm just like, I couldn't imagine dealing with that type of pressure, being that you went to New York. Now, I think it's a little safer if you like home, because now the cameras and stuff like that, you can kind of get away from it. But when you there in New York, I mean, you go day 2, like the cameras all over you. Now you become the storyline. And it's like he's always on the clock type situation. But anyway, yeah, so I was nervous and everything right there. So 8 pick come around, and obviously they go with Luke. Now, Luke is a stud, potential Hall of Famer. We never know, but he was a great asset to them. But I also fit that scheme. So, I wasn't mad at the situation, but they had just told me, hey, if you're there, we're taking you. And so now it goes from like exciting, having a moment, to like literally pissed off and like boiling, sweating, because all I could think of is like, I'm not going to make it out of this round, because nobody else has guaranteed it. Like everybody else is just like, we're thinking about taking you at whatever pick they were. Nobody guaranteed it. Carolina guaranteed it. So now when you fold, it's like, oh, this is a game that everybody plays. Like this ain't a one-off. So I'm like, this is about to be, I'm about to be one of those guys that's on the board or whatever. And so anyway, we go down the list, get to 16, and the phone ring. And the crazy part about it, I don't think like my agent or nobody had that phone. Like that phone call that kind of gets that like you about to get picked. So it was just like you hearing it all around the green room going off.
Whose phone is that?
Yeah. So I had 8 other picks. There was 8 other slots before they got to my pick, 7 other slots before they got to my pick. And so you hear their phone ring, and then you just seeing the green room like sliding, emptying out. And it's like, oh, man. So my phone ring, and it was Rex. And Rex was like, what do you think about being a Jet? And I'm just like, at first, I couldn't even imagine about being a Jet. I'm just like, I did it. Like, I got past the moment of embarrassment that I was like, this is about to be different because I'm in New York. Like, this is a whole nother level. And so it's kind of like that moment where it's like, you're unsure, you think you about to be at the bottom, to now you're on top of the world because we hosted in New York and I'm a New York Jet. So, and then I started understanding like the fan base and like everything came in like a rush wind. So they got their own Jets media. It's like, it's all different things that I was like not really prepared for. And I had media training and I can conduct myself, but it was just like, oh, this is next level. And it looks better than the other guys that got picked before me. So it's like they probably got 1 or 2 reporters, and here I am with 10, 12, 14, people just asking me question after question. And so I started kind of like getting a little flex about me, like, whoo, like it's like one of those, like, man, I passed it, but now I get to, embrace it and take it on head on. So, and I didn't have to do too much traveling. Like I didn't have to travel afterwards. So it was a beautiful thing, man. Yeah. So I was super grateful. Rex got on the phone. I was grateful for the opportunity, and it was a historical night for me and my family.
Yeah, no, it's looking back. I was just looking back. I mean, obviously, I remember the 2012 draft really well, but I was graduating high school, so a little younger, a couple years younger than you. And I just remember that draft because there was a run on edge rushers and outside linebackers where it was like you mentioned Luke Kuechly went 8, and then there was a run, I think, starting with Bruce Irving and then you, and then like
Melvin.
4 or 5 guys in the next 6 or 7 picks. It was like
Melvin, Dante Hightower went to the Patriots, Melvin
Chandler
went to
Jones,
San
I think,
Diego.
Melvin Ingram. There was a lot of guys.
Yeah, we was loaded.
Mario Davis obviously being in your class. He's another one that
he's a stud.
He's a Jet twice.
It was a steal.
And still going. Which being a weak side linebacker, still in your mid 30s, being that good is nuts.
It's insane.
Obviously, you mentioned Rex. Is there something that era was kind of the back half of Rex? Through your Jets tenure of there was obviously a lot of ups and downs in terms of actual on the field, but he's coming off being fat. Then he got the skinny Rex.
Then he got skinny.
Toegate. There was a lot of different stuff going on. Was there something with Rex that stood out? I think obviously he's a guy who's still on TV, and it's the same guy. It feels like that was in the locker room. Do you kind of see that anytime you're watching ESPN too, of like, it's like he's got the same, wants to talk shit and just hit people on defense. What do you kind of make of, I guess, your time with Rex? He's such a iconic figure here, even though he's only here 5-6 years.
For sure. I think he should get a reality TV show. I mean, I think it'll go double platinum because he's just, the personality is just unmatched when it comes to him. A guy that I really truly believe that is like the Jets, like guy, like a coach that had an opportunity to do something special, almost got to the big dance, and just never really had that coordinator, that offensive coordinator that can get him over the edge. But you want to talk about a guy that's bleeding. I mean, even on TV, you can see that he still bleeds green. Like he's still heavily invested in being a Jets coach. He had such a great run in regards to, I know sometimes the numbers in regards to records doesn't add up, but I just think about the talent that he acquired while he was there. Like those are some of the household names. How he was be able to get and convince people to come out of free agency to come over there to the Jets. I think he's a tremendous man. Obviously, he gave me an opportunity to be there and play for the New York Jets, and I have high regards in regards to Rex. He was amazing. Definitely a true players coach, but I also mean business. Knew football inside out. Just knew how to stop an offense. I always tell people he knew how to stop it. He just didn't know how to run them. And that was, I think, his Achilles heel, which was that he never had a coordinator that could get him over the edge. And I think we take for granted, like if you look around and Reid, like Andy Reid is an offensive genius, but he always connects with a defensive mindset where he don't have to be engaged at all on defense. And so I think that's one of those things that if we can rewind the hands of time, that's what he needed. He had the talent. I mean, we had, we always laugh at Mark about the butt fumble, but I mean, he was the quarterback that got us to the, AFC title game. And then you got,
you beat Brady and Payne in one playoff run. No one else has ever done that.
So, and then you got, you said Santonio Holmes. You had Brandon Marshall at one point in time. We had some studs, man. We had some people that, could have got the job done, but I just don't think that the scheme was there for offensively to actually get us over the edge. And then with the chaos after the butt bummer and stuff like that, it just kind of went downhill. But I think from a coaching standpoint, probably one of the best to ever do it. I never heard nobody talk bad about Rex. Definitely a player's coach, somebody that'll go to war for you, literally. I know we say that like cliche terms, but like I really believe like if I got into a fight and Rex Ryan was there, he'll help. He'll jump in.
I think that's the thing with Rex, and I wanted to ask you because Aaron Glenn's obviously a guy who's coming in, former player. Again, he's lived the New York experience. He's not a New York guy either. Like kind of similar to yourself, and a lot of these guys. He's like I've never really been in New York, and back in the mid '90s, New York is crazy, and like he's getting drafted as a first-round pick in a fan base that was starving for anything, and obviously it's super successful here. Then it's gone on and coach and and a bunch of different stuff. What do you think for in your opinion what he have to do to kind of again you were part of it with Rex where there was like that strong culture of the team was successful. It wasn't like the playoff drought was a year when you got there, not where it is now. Obviously, still haven't been out to the playoffs since. I guess from an Aaron Glenn perspective, what are your kind of either expectations or where do you feel like what does he have to do to be successful? You can already tell like with the media too. He's already kind of
Yeah,
like, I'm
it's
not
getting
taking any
active.
bullshit. So I guess, yeah, from an AG perspective, what are you kind of expecting, coming into 2025?
I don't really have a lot of high expectations, and it's not like to be disrespectful. And I hold Aaron Glenn as a man of stature, high regard as well. Like I don't really know a lot about him, but he was a part of like a lot of the tenure, a lot of my NFL tenure in regards to like coaches being around and
Yeah,
different atmospheres and stuff like that. Always a man of good character, upright type man overall, but. Honestly, these next 2 years is like evaluation, and I hope that they're able to give something to hold on to him for more than 2 years.
yeah,
Um, and I think that this season, I think they have a good season. I don't think there's nothing to really kind of look forward to. I think that they're in a great position because they have a great defense, but I'm not necessarily sure if they'll be able to get over the edge. Because again, like they had all they needed last year. There
yeah,
was nothing missing, and actually the expectations was very high. But I think that if he can establish a culture, and the thing about the Jets is, and I tell this people all the time, like the Jets is beautiful, beautiful place. For the most part, beautiful people. Facility is nice. Food gonna take care of you. Like it's everything you need. But when it comes to on the field, there seems to be like this gap, or like where we have all this talent and we can't get over the edge. You know what I mean? And so I think that they got a great defense. I think they need some more depth. So that's probably something that he can kind of develop those guys that's behind him, that second string tier. Don't let them just be special team guys, but also give them some opportunities to be special. Obviously, the preseason and to me, those first 4 or 5 games they're crucial. But I think throw them in there to kind of
yeah.
get an
See what you got.
understanding of
Trial by
grasp.
fire a little bit.
Yeah, and I think coaches resist that a lot of times, and it messes up your depth. And then when you have some God forbid a catastrophic injury, it messes up the rhythm in the defensive scheme, because now you have to account for that this player won't be as good. And it's okay not to be as good as the starter, but it's not okay for it be such a huge drop off. So that culture of being able to play from behind. So you could be tough, you could be talented. Everybody is in the NFL, but understanding how to, for Justin Fields' game management,
Yeah,
and not folding under pressure. We haven't really seen him be, very dominant in pressure situations. So I think that it'll give him an opportunity to put him in positions to be successful. I don't necessarily think that Justin has kind of took that edge as far as like dominating the league. But I think if you put him in the right scheme and right situation, he'll be able to obtain that aura and kind of start tapping into his, Lamar Jackson like and Patrick Mahomes like Patrick Mahomes ain't the most athletic or gifted, but he got a scheme that's undeniable. Tom
yeah,
Brady wasn't athletic or gifted, but has a scheme that's undeniable, and so they put them in situations to be successful versus just relying on the talent. So I think if he could establish a culture where they understand the importance of overcoming adversity and not just being tough, because I think a lot, I hear him speaking a lot, and it's all about being tough and gritty, and that's great, and you're going to need that. But however, having that mindset of understanding how to overcome adversity, how I'm down 14, middle of the third, not to give up, not to call it a day, not to give up 3 more points so we're going 17, but actually making stops. Oh, offense went 3 and out. How can I overcome this the defense going out there with the mindset that it's still 0? Those are the type of things that I think he's going to need, because the game, to me, for them win is won on the defensive side for sure.
yeah. No, I agree. I think going into this year, where I kind of sit is like it's an evaluation year in a lot of ways, but it's also like it's not just an evaluation of, I think that it's like if you can leave 2025 being like our young guys are really good, we feel really good about them, we have a core, and we feel really good about our head coach. At least you have something to build around where it's like you can start to tool a little bit and spend some money here and get aggressive here or not.
For sure.
You just don't want to leave. You don't want to leave a season being like, I don't know if we have a good head coach, and I don't know if we have the young players that are going to get us through. Like that's kind of what I felt like leaving. Obviously even 2023, where it's like I like the young players, but I don't know if the coach is right. I don't know if the offensive coordinator's right. Like, just too many different questions. In terms of that, I was kind of curious. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about your show a bit, but
Right.
Jermaine Johnson's coming back from an Achilles, and then you have guys like Quinton Williams, and who's a former All-Pro but had a down year. Like, there's obviously different things, right? It's catastrophic injury versus just having a down year.
Correct.
How as a player do you kind of flip that switch of like new season, like wipe all the bullshit from either previous staff or injury, down year? Like, how do you kind of mentally get yourself in a better headspace? Is it all just like, I have to just be better? Like, how do you kind of get yourself there? I mean, everyone's different,
Yeah.
obviously, with that.
I think, and so I think there's two different ways in regards to like, so I come from that, my generation and like prior is like mindset. It's like being tough and overcoming things that they like testing the waters. With these guys, with this new generation, I think it's more about support. I think they need the proper people around them to support them to get them over the edge. So when that moment happens, especially like coming off of Achilles head, like the first, practice, training camp, all this stuff is just tiptoeing because you don't know. You're just super
Yeah,
scared.
you don't know until you get
Fact,
punched in the head.
did I
One
train?
plant. Yeah.
Did I train the other leg too much? And now that's subject to be, because that's usually like the situation that happened. So I think that support system and helping them understand, like, hey, gradually go into this, gradually get better, physical therapy and the treatment, like all that should be playing a part. So therefore, when that moment happened, they get a sack or they get an interception or whatever the situation may be. Now that light bulb turned on, and now they're gonna come into who they really are. And so I think it's more about that support system and that foundation. And a lot of times coaches don't want to do that in the sport of football because, again, we get back to all of these, let's be tough and let's be aggressive and stuff like that. But the game has changed now. The game is not a tough game at all. It's more, still physical a little bit, but it's more so technique and basically mindset, like understanding. Like you just talk about DeMario earlier, like it's like being able to be a will linebacker, 30 plus, 34 years old plus, and killing it at a high level. It ain't so much about the physical. He understands the game at a high level, so he's able to put himself in a position. And I think that because they have taken away the physicality part of the game, like now you have to be skill set because now it's more catered to offense. It's not catered to defense. Like it was a point in time where the NFL was you go to see somebody get knocked out. Like you go to see these hard tackles. Right now we're going for touchdowns and touchdown celebration, and now they're trying to take that away. So it's like it's even more crazy because it's like so now you got to have that mindset of being able to understand how to be successful without being so aggressive and physical. I think it works against you to be aggressive in this day and age. Like interior. You're going to have to be because, the deuce block or, a one-on-one with an all-pro lineman, that's what it is. But to be able to understand the technique, to be able to get you to the QB and get tackle for losses and get back to the running back, that'll get you across the edge and have a better successful year than just being the tough. So I think the support system just around and understanding how to strategically play him. Like we have all these data analytic guys that's on the sideline, but I don't think they like take on like the understanding of when to put this kid in or when to insert him into the scheme, into the defense. What makes better? Like does he work better with a man coverage or does he work better with a cover 2, cover 3 behind him? Are we freeing him up from those deuce boxes? Are we sending LB blitzes and things of that nature to kind of take that pressure off of him to allow him to finesse and do what he needs to do? So that's a whole nother level. That's a high level of understanding of the game. But I think that if they do that, then they'll be okay. I think Q had like I said, he had an off year, but I don't think it's nothing that he can't bounce back from. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he will.
I was curious, before kind of getting the pod quick and stuff, you mentioned that, that kind of support system. And, obviously you don't have to have played in the league or played in college to watch football or know football or all this different stuff, right? Like I played in college. It doesn't mean I know better than a different person that didn't play in college, right? That's not the way I'm saying. But you mentioned that kind of support and going from a staff that was a very young staff and a lot of guys that, hadn't maybe necessarily played in the league and things like that to a staff where yeah, your head coach is a former All-Pro. That's great. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just that. It's Dre Bly there as a corners coach. Dre Bly won a Super Bowl as a rookie and is a guy
Mm-hmm.
who's 40, 50 career picks. Like he's a guy
Right.
like, hey, now I have Aaron Glenn and Dre Bly telling me what to do here. Or on the offensive side of football, there's a bunch of different coaches that have played in the league or different things. Do you think that's another way you can kind of help shift the culture a little bit of like guys that either understand the market or just understand the nuances of the league and being a player of like you mentioned, hey, I'm everyone coming back from an injury, it sounds good to just be like, oh, ease your way back, but it's a lot harder when it's like, hey, I've been through that. I can relate. Do you think that's going to play a factor potentially in helping change the culture too of just having guys who've either played here or played in big moments that can be like, trust me, like I've done this. Follow me here a little bit more
Right.
than just the average coach, I guess.
I think it's important how the former guys, and this is including myself, how we communicate what we're trying
Yeah,
to teach these kids. Back then, like, Aaron or Drake could come to me and do this. Like today, it's more so like, hey, when we're looking at, the three receiver over here, and we understand that this drag right is coming, there's no need to continue to backpedal when you know that you're gonna have to attack the drag route on the that you release him to the safety. So it's stuff like that. That's like they have to. I tell retired players this all the time, especially at alumni meetings. Like we have to communicate differently because they don't receive like the tough guy, the rah, like they don't receive that well. That's what we did, and so usually you repeat, how you was coached to others. But I think we gotta put some little seasoning on it and allow them to think their way through instead of just being hard on them. Like us, we was hard and we had to do it right now. Let them go through the era to understand it and process it different because they process way different than we do. I think it gives them an edge in regards to having former players around. But again, I think it's about the communication part. If you don't communicate well with these kids, they shut down.
yeah.
I'm
It
seeing
doesn't
it at
matter
the
if you
high
can't
school.
communicate, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm seeing it at the high school level. I'm seeing it going into the college level. And a lot of times you're trying to teach technique. So like, who was it? Dion and who got into it? That played for the Patriots. The
oh
cornerback.
no,
Um,
Tyler. Maybe no. It was a corner from the Patriots. I mean, it was a Tyler. No, it wasn't Tyler. It wasn't now.
Nah, I can't think of what it is. So anyway, they was going back and forth about the T-step and whatnot.
Oh,
But
Asante Samuel. Yeah,
sounds like sense, yeah. So same, both saying pretty much kind of the same thing. One coaching the old school way, and one is telling you, "Hey, now this is how we do it now." And it's like, "Hey, yeah, I can be a lockdown receiver and travel, but I also could be a lockdown receiver and shut down half of the field where he likes to throw." Both are lockdown receivers. I mean,
yeah,
lockdown corners. So you like it, you getting the same job done. One just look a certain way. But if I communicate it where I say the T step is horrible, and we don't do the T step, then now that miscommunication to him, that's telling him that hey, what you did was sucks. Versus he's just saying no, I just didn't use the T step. That's all he had to say. Like I don't use the T step, and I travel with my guy. You use the T step, and you shut down half of the field. The
yeah. It's
same
like
objective. When we go into the defensive meet room, guess what? We talking the same language. Hey, Dion, travel with the number one receiver, shut him, make sure he don't go. He don't go. He don't score. Asante, do your job. Shut down the right side of half of the field, the left side of the field. He's a right-handed quarterback, or the right side of the field. He's a right-handed quarterback. He want to throw right. You shut that field down. So now his whole game plan of him throwing to his number one receiver on the right side is shut down. It's
yeah,
the same thing. So
yeah,
it's communication, and so Sante will be the representation of the new era, and then Dion will obviously be a representation of the old era, and we both getting the same thing done. It's just about how we're communicating. So when I say that, that's what I mean. When you can't go out there and tell Saul's T-step or not to T-step, if
yeah.
that's what he do,
Yeah,
you
just
know
put
what I
him in a
mean?
good spot to be successful and let it ride from there.
So right. So put the scheme together and put it in place where now he is using the T step and he's crushing it. He's still getting his, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks or whatever it may be, and he's still all pro. But your adjustment, played him off for him to break that way with the T-step versus him manning up and having to break down and put him at a disadvantage. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? But you're just going about it and communicating, hey, I'm not telling you, hey, you can't do the T-step. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me back you off that you do the T-step and you get the same result.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's something that goes, I would say it kind of goes for a lot of different positions and different things like that. Just put guys in positions to be successful. You want to emphasize their strengths and get rid of their weaknesses. Two quick questions here, and before we kind of wrap and hit on the pod. One, I know you got to play with Revis a little bit. Mm-hmm. I know obviously got hurt. He got hurt, early on in 2012. But even in just rookie camp, were you like, this time of year you get drafted? Obviously, he's was one of the 2 or 3 best players probably in the league at that point. Right. Still, was it just a different? Obviously, everyone in the NFL is really good, but walking on a field out of college and being like, I'm a first-round pick, and then be like, dude, what is this guy? Like, was that kind of reaction? Because I feel like everyone always is like, I don't know, man. I play a lot of great players. Revis is like just a different type of dude in general.
Listen, like he was a locker away from me, so he's kind of like my locker mate, and it's I tell people and I argue people with this down and down, like he's the best corner in the game ever.
I agree.
And the thing that people don't want to recognize is they take his humility for granted, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a dog, but he's the perfect dog. Like he's like the Presa Canary. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that dog where you look at him, you like, okay, that's a dog. But you have no idea the terror that dog is going to bring to you once you click that button, And so to him, it wasn't never, and sometimes the NFL has the mic'd up moments where you can kind of hear it, but he never displayed it. Like you don't see Reeve like, yeah, this and that and that. Like he don't do that. He literally locks you up and just
doesn't say a word.
And it pisses, and I tell people this all the time. I've seen him piss more people off than the people who are rowdy. Because granted, Crow is a rowdy guy. Like Crow, if Crow stop you, he letting you know. You know what I'm saying? And Crow had the privilege of having to guard at number 2. As some people can argue he was a number 1 corner, not with Reeves, but like he could have been a number 1 corner on another team easily. But the fact that he had to guard the number 2 and he was able to get off, I've seen Crow do that, but I've also seen Reeve like destroy people. And even in my short period of time, and that's why I feel like he's the greatest corner to ever play the game. I've seen him lock up the best. You go look at his highlights, he locks up the best. Everybody respect him. Had Chad Johnson crying still 20, 15 years later.
10 years later, like, still crying.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, like you would love for somebody to lock you up or beat you and talk. It hurts 1,000% worse when somebody is whooping you and they're not talking. Like it's the most disrespectful, and I tell kids this all the time. The most disrespectful thing that you can do is whoop somebody and say nothing. Because as men, we feed off that, our pride and ego. I can out-talk you. I might say something that can hurt your feelings. But for you to whoop me up and down this field and never say nothing, it's the most disrespectful thing that life has to offer. And I seen this man did that. He actually, when he went down and I had to go from linebacker to, basically stopping the number 1 receiver and whatnot as a linebacker and playing in zone coverage. He showed me technique. Like he showed me technique that I actually use that actually work. And so now, like even these little kids receiver, I still work on that now. And he helped me understand that like a lot of the work is done pre-snap, based off lineup, based off how they position. Like he's a legend. Definitely go Jackie for sure. One of the best. I think he's the best corner ever, but one of the best players of football. Period, man. Yeah. Salute to Reeve. He's my favorite corner. One of the best pros that I've ever been around. Really handled it like if I was to be, my career was to look like something, it would be him. It would be definitely the way Reeve did it.
A lot of money in what Reeve did, but no, in terms of obviously you're a UNC guy, and Julius Peppers obviously he's now got a gold jacket on as well. I think sometimes people forget about how insane of an athlete Julius Peppers was. Growing up, were you like, I want to be Julius Peppers? Like, Carolina guy,
Mm-hmm.
obviously pass rusher, basketball player, the whole thing. And like, Julius Peppers out here running a 4.5 at like 290 pounds.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a 4.5. I don't even remember. But was he like the guy for you that was like, I'm going to go to Carolina and try to be Julius Peppers, or no, is it somebody else?
Yeah, nah, he wasn't. But I didn't learn about him really extensively until like I got to Carolina.
And then it was like,
and then
all the crazy stories.
Yeah, so now they started telling me stories of like, who he was, how he went about his business. And I found out he's from Wilson, North Carolina, which is like 45 minutes from, or 30 minutes from Kinston, North Carolina, which is where I'm from. So we back east boys. I was always compared to him because we did a similar thing. We played basketball, we kind of long neck, you know what I mean? Like we kind of got the kind of same body build type or whatever. So, but I never like really had no opportunity to really meet him until I got into the league. So I never really had no relationship to him. But when I learned about him, he's always been the highest regard defensive lineman that I've ever given credit to. He's that guy. He's not just a North Carolina like legend in regards to university, but North Carolina legend in regards to the state of North Carolina. He set the tone for a lot of us. He set the tone, and it gave a lot of guys opportunities. Mario Williams was another guy who came out of North Carolina State, but you talked to him, it was Pep. Like Pep set the tone, and the fact that he was doing it big at Carolina at the Panthers. Hats off to him. I met him one time in Green Bay, walking off the field, and I didn't know he knew me. I'm a fan for beginners, but I didn't know how like the interaction worked. Like, can players really be fans of players? Like, I thought it was just like you say what up or you be cool or whatever, but I didn't know you could really fan out. But it was a guy. It was a linebacker on our team that played with Pep. I think it's Lattimore.
Might have been.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was in a starting up, but so he was telling me he was like, yo, Pep is like the coolest dude ever before we played Green Bay, because he was like, yo, I used to play with him or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool. He's not that type, because you get some guys, you don't get Revises like in regards to like superstar guys. Like you don't get that. Like you get the ego, you get the arrogance. You can't be talked to, whatever. Like you got to be of a certain stature to be in the same room. So I get it or whatever. So I ended up meeting him coming off the field, and he wished me like good luck. And we had beat Green Bay. I had got a sack. I sacked Rodgers and everything, and so we had like a moment or whatever. And it's probably one of the things I wish I could have did when I was in the league, which was like connect with him and like kind of like really build with him. But he's always been like the GOAT in regards to like D-line. I always start with him and then go forward from there.
Yeah. I kind of want to transition, obviously, the way you're starting up here. We were talking a little bit before we started recording. I think it's pretty cool. I think a lot of shows that are, there's either stuff like what I do and a lot of other people do, which obviously talk about the game and, talk to players, former players, coaches, the whole thing. And then there's obviously a lot of the former player podcast, which kind of end up turning into just like, this guy was really good, this guy was bad, and like kind of just a lot of, I'm not going to name the pods, everyone's watched them.
Yeah.
Want to talk a little bit about what you kind of got going on, because I think it's something that people actually enjoy, and it makes you think a little bit more than maybe just the same story that everyone's told. That as cool as it was, literally, no, just single cry about Revis. Like I've seen it on 9 podcasts now.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to give so the podcast is called Athlete Antidote. And so basically it's just opening the minds of the fan and player interaction, like allowing people to understand exactly how we think. Not necessarily the traditional, success stories and the drama that, sells views, but more so like just an inside thought process that we're able to actually capture on camera, and the conversations that we actually have as retired players and as players in the locker room that don't necessarily get out. Like we love the entertainment part, but it'd be like some real conversations that we have about the game of football that nobody speaks on. And we'll tap into some of the mental health or, situations, but also we want to just open your mind to like, hey, a person just got cut. How does that feel? Or how do you feel about seeing your name on ESPN and they talking about you? When when Stephen A. say something, or Ryan Clark say something about you, how do you respond? How does that make you feel? Do you respond? What is the code of ethics in regards to how the league box you in to where you can only respond in certain ways and things of that nature? So you don't get the scripted athlete, you get the unscripted athlete, and it allows the fans and the people listening and viewing the opportunity to get a breakdown of the game. And we're able to break down teams, and like I told you before we got on camera, seeing a guy being very good and not performing in a scheme because the scheme doesn't fit him, but he's a great guy, he's a great talent, and you like, well, he's supposed to have X amount of numbers, and it's like, yeah, he does, but he's in a scheme that prevents him from doing that. And how coaches are stubborn and won't change the scheme to fit him for the betterment of the team.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Because it's
it's funny when you were saying that. The first thing I thought of was Ryan Clark and Rodgers have gone at each other a ton, and it's like how Rodgers, who's still in the league, how do you approach? Hey, he's a guy, and a lot of guys say this, and I think it's something I'm sure you guys are going to talk about. I don't listen to this,
right?
And I don't. I only played in college, but I know what my Twitter mentions look like after every game, so I can only imagine what someone that's playing in the game actually has, and it's impossible to ignore it. It just is. So it's like you either acknowledge it and say like it doesn't bother me, but obviously Rodgers, a guy who sees everything and says he doesn't care, but like it's okay that he cares. It's more of how do you respond and what motivates you versus what bothers you, and it's like their back and forth is a good example, I think, of how you're supposed to respond to something, what you can touch on, what you can't touch on, how low of a blow are you going to say versus like you take the high road. I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing that we just don't really talk about enough, and it's every day if you're in the league.
Right, and it's traditional answers though. Like I don't care about it. Like okay, now I can't call out the team. Like teammate may have a bad game, and it may cost us the game, but I can't say nothing about it because the league, culture is you don't shed light on the bad part of your teammates' play or performance or whatever. But if he cost us 10 points on 2 missed error plays, we're going to talk about it in the team meeting. We're going to talk about it in the defensive meeting.
Yeah, he's going to get motherfucked in the team meeting. So.
Right. But but here's the thing that I have the issue with. The issue is that there's some unwritten rule that says that we can't talk about that because it stains or blackens the eye of the NFL or your organization. And I'm saying, what evidence do we have of that? We have zero. Dallas Cowboys won championships with guys coming fresh out of jail. Oakland Raiders, same thing. Yeah. Like, so this unwritten rule that the NFL is going to be heard and the NFL no, you actually gain views when they came out of jail and they still got signed to a team. You gain views, you gain revenue, and you gain sponsorship. So there's no data that supports you saying like, hey, if I call out Q today about him missing 2 assignments that cost us 10 points, we could have won the game if we didn't. You take away those 10 points. That's TV. That's entertainment. Yeah. The fans want to know that. Like now, the fan, instead of just paying to go see the game, now I'm paying for the engagement. And so with understanding that and understanding that now Brian is into this media role where he's not necessarily speaking from a player perspective, but speaking from the script, and he understands the topics of what's going to generate views. Like even that with him and RG3, like that wasn't real. That's views.
Yeah,
that's
both entertainment. Of them are trying to get a check, and everyone.
But we don't change. Yeah. So, but we don't. Here's my thing. Let's just be true and authentic from the beginning. All right. So there may be times where Q is in the entertainment world, and he may say something that's a little off script or whatever. I'm good enough, or I'm able to say, hey, listen, I was in the entertainment role, like I was selling this topic. This is not my authentic answer. This is not me. Like it's just something that I'm doing in regards to the entertainment where I'm on camera. So I was being entertaining versus me giving you my authentic opinion about the situation. And so like, I think there needs to be like, you can't come in here saying I'm authentic and don't give the people authentic perspectives all the way through. And again, we on camera, so sometimes you might say something crazy, or
Yeah.
whatever, and it may be based off the influence that you had in regards to your, research on a topic, or just hearing somebody else speak on it. You're like, oh, that's a good point or whatever, but it ain't your point. But it's just like, I might mention that or whatever. It's entertainment, and I get it. And I'm not saying that you wrong for doing that, but also don't speak on entertainment position as you being authentic. And I think that's the issue with Ryan at this point. No disrespect. I think he's doing good for a lot of the stuff that he do, but there's a difference between ESPN and there's a difference between Pivot, and people expect the true, authentic Ryan, the athlete, on Pivot, and not the media broadcaster on the Pivot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, and I think that's what he got to separate.
You want to listen for what you want to listen for, but I'll make sure that obviously it's linked in the bio again.
Okay.
Guys, live show tickets that are listening, live show tickets for August 23rd. They're on sale. Make sure you guys buy those. Maybe we'll get Q up here and we'll have them up there. But appreciate you obviously hopping on, and we'll do this again as we get closer to the season, and then talk some more ball.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thanks again, man. See you soon. Talk soon.